Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
Angela Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show where John is going to tell us more about.
Yes. Well, this is take two of the show that we attempted to do last Sunday, beset by technical glitches. We believe that we have overcome them, and certainly, if anything does befall us, we have plan B, plan C to be able to keep the show going this time. And we've worked out some anomalies over this past week. So, anyway, this is going to be a really important show. I think that's how I would describe it because we know that we are at this shift of the ages. We know that there are various things coming to the surface now to be released. We know that we have an opportunity to step back into our power. We've had decades upon decades. In fact, our lifetimes have typically been programmed and conditioned to believe we are far less than we are. And this is now the time when we are stepping into that power. And this show is really all about helping us step into that power, understanding what that journey is like, because it's not an easy journey. There is decades and decades of programming to unwind. And it is naive, if you like, to say that this is going to be an easy thing. But you have to, again, it's like the game of life, right? But to play any game, you've got to know what the rules are. So this is giving us a real inkling into what we can focus on, what we can choose to focus on, what can elevate our frequency and our consciousness, and in so doing, help everybody around us. So, I'm just excited for this journey. I mean, what do you reckon, Jolie?
This journey is one that is, you know, taking us into a new reality of our own making. You know, in the dinosaur age, which is mine in the past, is what I'm talking about. We had all these traditions and customs that we were following, and we were following them in a way that was rote. We didn't quite understand. We weren't quite able to absorb because they weren't in alignment with us. But the veils are beginning to thin. And what I mean is these things are being resolved and dissolved, removed. And although it's shocking, it gives us the opportunity to rebuild. I remember in this movie I saw, it was somebody said, when there's blood on the streets, it's time to buy, right? Now that's for the
Yeah.
other side. But how we can interpret it in a spiritual level is when there's so much chaos happening, this is the time to really dig into your spiritual gifts, right? This is the time to share, add value to people's lives, collaborate, think about more than just us. So that's kind of the flip side of that. And then once you move into some stabilizing energy to build a legacy, to leave something lasting this time that will bring all of us together and raise our frequency and vibration. And when we look back on these stories, so much of it has been taken out, mostly coming together. Mostly, what are the practices to raise our vibration? So that's where John and I come in with kind of doing the work. John has done the work and he has seen, given us some of this blank space. He's able to fill in the story. And I'm so excited because what that does is that then puts the power back in our hands because knowledge and wisdom is what is going to move us forward. And the integration of our masculine and feminine energy to work out the polarity that we're experiencing in this lifetime. And we see the world experiencing it. So what's going on inside of ourselves is usually manifested out in the world. So the work is definitely internal.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, very well said. And this is again our mission statement. The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So that is something that this is really all about because we are building the new. Our community are building the new. This is us heading towards a world of unspeakable beauty. Because if you go back to conversations with God and Neil Donald Walsh, um, channeling that God energy said that, we are the ones in control here. We are the ones
Yeah.
who have free will. So therefore, when we decide whether we create a world of unspeakable beauty, or its opposite is really down to us to decide. Now, I know which one I want.
Yes. And you see all of these things falling away, all of the kind of not all is a very extreme word. Many things are falling away that we relied on in our past. You see them dissolving, especially in America and around the world. Some of these boundaries, these checks and balances are now we're in the Wild West. So take your fear, your grief, your doubt, and focus it into building your life, to into cleaning up your insides. What does that mean? The more authentic you become, the cleaner, the more authentic and peaceful. Like we're authentic sometimes and violent, but we want to be authentic and peaceful. The more neutral you become, the less that you have these mood swings, you know that you're going in the right direction. Now, we know age helps that as well, but internal work is how we kind of close the gap between who we are and who we want to be. And so, one of the things, if I were you, I would do to reach the goal is I would conversate with her or him or them that is living the life I want to live. So that means you got to get really clear about that. And I'm telling you, it looks like it's a bunch of chaos around, but the energy is there to pull in, right? And it's free for all. It's not, you're not being vampiric because the energy is being released. So because of that, it's time for you to kind of pull your energy back. Call all your energy back, all your power from the programming and the conditioning. It's like this is, although it's bittersweet, do the work because it will take you so much further when things, because even astrologically, there's something going on. So when these transits and these energies close, you want to be the one to have done your work so that you catapult into the timeline that you desire and that you've created for yourself.
Yes. Yes, indeed. That's exactly it. So, I think we're gonna start to head towards
Yes.
our the Mary Magdalene piece now, because this
Yes.
is kind of like we really are going to be focusing big time into the teachings of Mary Magdalene, which should really come into the surface now, this divine feminine energy. And I thought what we would start with is a look at who was Mary Magdalene, because this is really quite an interesting story. Jolie and I have gone through this over the last couple of weeks, and it's really a fascinating story. So if you bear with me a second, I'm just going to switch screens because we can put a graphic on here to help in this. This is interesting, right? So Miriam of Tiana was in fact Mary Magdalene. Now, there's a fascinating story behind this, because originally her family had moved from Israel up to this area, which you can see, this area, we can see a little sort of like purplish box around it, which says Tiana. In fact, let's just do a quick focus on this. Bear with me a second. Here we go. Right, so there we go. We're focusing in on Tiana. Now, what is the relevance of this in particular? Well, what happened is that we had Miriam of Tiana, who was of the tribe of Benjamin, who lived in Tiana. This was an area, the Hittite area of the world. Now, what was interesting about the Hittites, of course, is that they were very advanced in the subject of metallurgy, the Bronze Age people. And what's interesting about bronze, of course, is that you need tin and copper together to create bronze, which was hugely, used at that particular time when, around 2000 years ago, very popular in Rome, etc., etc. So the Miriam's father his name was James, and he was a merchant. He had become firm friends with Joseph of Arimathea, who was the uncle to Yeshua. He was the brother to Mother Mary. And so he and James were very, I mean, it goes back, these are soul connections, obviously. This is what we're really talking about here. But because of the trading nature of what James was doing, because of the trading nature of what Joseph of Arimathea were doing, obviously they did a lot of business together, and their families were very well known to each other, and they were very firm friends. Now, what happened is that James actually passed when Miriam was just 8 years old. And at that point, Joseph of Arimathea spoke to the family and was able to adopt Miriam into his family. So she moved to Jerusalem and lived with Joseph of Arimathea from the age of 8 onwards. At which time, one of the frequent visitors to Joseph of Arimathea's was his nephew, Jeshua. So when Yeshua was aged 11 and Miriam was aged 8, that was the first time they met, and they had 1 year where they really bonded closely together. Now, that what happened after that, by the age of what would it have been? So by the age of 12, Jesus was on his travels then to go to different parts of the world. He would have spent time in England working and learning from the Druids and the likes, and then he was over in the Far East, and then ultimately into India and Tibet and learning about that. And meanwhile, Miriam herself went to the Isis Mystery School based in Alexandria. So she studied there, and then for 18 years, they were traveling and learning and growing. So the interesting thing beyond that is that by the time they came back together, they were high priestess and high priest together, okay? And the vortex of energy you get when you reach that level of consciousness that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene who was becoming Mary Magdalene from the Order of the Magdalene, then basically the vortex of energy, there's a 12-pointed transformational vortex that you create when you reach that level of consciousness. And a divine masculine and a divine feminine together becomes enormously powerful. And that's how it worked, because whenever Yeshua was speaking to a crowd of people, then Mary Magdalene was always with him. Now, she wasn't doing the talking, but she was using her energy to combine with him so that it would provide this harmonious blending of divine masculine and divine feminine energy. And then when he was actually addressing a crowd, he would always be looking across the heads, because at the heads, he could actually see that the geometrics and the colors that came from the crowd, because that would tell him their level of consciousness. And he was able to send waves of the geometrics of unconditional love across the crowd, which is why he was so impressive a speaker. But it wasn't just Yeshua, it was Mary Magdalene and Yeshua working together. So it was really interesting to think that that was all part of who Mary Magdalene was. She was an essential equal partner in that time with Yeshua. So that is the level to which she had, become accustomed. And the other thing is that when they got together and they got married, and they were married, and they used to spend a lot of time, and they would effectively educate each other, where Yeshua would tell her all about the Far Eastern traditions, and she would tell him all about the Isis tradition. So again, it made them stronger. But what it also meant is that after the crucifixion, when they all had to scatter, and they had Joseph of Arimathea and Mother Mary went back to their ancestral roots in England, and Mary Magdalene went to Gaul, i.e. France, and settled there, albeit there were travels. There were times when they would go and be switching information around. But for the eight for the next years, annually after Yeshua's crucifixion, they used to get together on the island of Cyprus for these midsummer gatherings. So they would always get together just before the midsummer so that they could begin and go through that. And you can imagine, right? So, I mean, Joseph of Arimathea had commercial shipping line of between 120 and 150 commercial ships. So he would arrange for the disciples or whoever was attending to be picked up by ship and brought to Cyprus. And of course, they don't just do that for a couple of nights, because if you've had a week in an uncomfortable ship to get to Cyprus, you're going to spend a lot of time there. So they would be working with each other in Cyprus. And I find this really interesting. Now, I happen to be going to Cyprus sometime in about literally about a month from now, actually about 4 weeks from now. And I will be actually going to a place which I think is actually quite close to where they used to get together. So I'm going to go to the Roman ruins there and just see if I can pick up on any vibrations and all that kind of thing. So I'm excited about that. Now, one of the things that is also interesting is who Mary Magdalene, i.e., Miriam of Tiana's grandfather was. So let me show you who that was. Okay, here we go. Any second now. There he is. This is Balthazar. This was obviously, oh, excuse me a second. Yeah, so this is Balthazar, who was the grandfather to Miriam of Tiana. Now, he was from Persia with African roots, and he was one of the Magi. He was one of the three wise men, or the three kings, whichever you want to call it, who attended Yeshua after his birth. And as you can see on the left-hand side there, what did he do? It was his gift. He was he gave the gift of myrrh. Now, this is where I kind of got a little bit more of a personal connection with this because I remember the only ever school nativity play that I ever took part in was when I was promoted from shepherd to a wise man. And which wise man was I? I was I was Balthazar. So I had to have stage makeup every time, which used to scare people when I was going home because I did look a little bit strange. But yeah, and it was and I myrrh. Now I'm not convinced that they used exactly the brand that is actually depicted on the left-hand side of the screen there, but nevertheless, you get the idea. So anyway, and I didn't tell you this, Jolie, but one of the things I was able to do was actually just go back and get some footage of when I was in that school play. And of course, it was like back in 1970, when I was 10 years old, as I was with the Balthazar, and managed to get a few seconds clip of us going into the school play with the choir in the background. So I managed to, apparently this has been digitized. So I thought I'd share that with you. So you ready for this, Jolie?
Yes, let's see it.
Right, now then, bear with me a second. Here we go. Now, I'm at the, basically, we're riding camels, bear that in mind, but each camel is two boys inside a camel outfit, and we're all pretending to ride it, going towards the nativity scene. But let's see if this comes up okay. Bear with me. Yep, there I was on the lead camel. You can't tell me from this, it's me from that angle, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. John, you're hilarious. I swear to you, AI and blackface, you're going to get us canceled, young man.
Yeah, but it's basically as it really was. Now I'm going to switch to stop the share on that screen. Now, yeah,
See,
so I really did play that role, and I find it fascinating all these years later that you discover that that was actually the grandfather of Mary Magdalene. And our drama teacher was Mr. Spielberg. He was very keen on production quality. And so, you can see that a lot of effort went into it, the backstage, all that kind of thing, and it's slightly digitally enhanced. But
but you'd want to look at these things. Like we said, I was doing a meditation and I was telling John, I felt like my heels were on the edge. And if I were to step back into the past, I would go into the abyss. So it's like these things that you're seeing and that you're feeling that may be triggering to you, that's where the work is at. Because why are you offended about the petty? Why aren't we offended about what we'll see, Rwanda? Why doesn't Palestine offend us enough? Why doesn't cancer be something that is absolutely offensive to the point where we are doing everything we can to eradicate this? I'm that person and you're that person if you're watching this. So bring that into your meditation and come see us on Thursdays for Pam Gregory, because this is huge too. We just saw with John taking us through the history of Tiana and the Mary Magdalene. And there was a chaotic energy around during this time. There was a Sanhedrin council, which John and I talked about, the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and what's going on today is paralleling these things in many ways. And it's not about a culture, it's an energy. It's an energy. So we need to stop with labeling these things and judging these things, people, and seeing it for what it really is, which is an energetic problem that begins within us. But then on Thursdays or whenever you do your meditation, you get together and you bring everyone into that love. Because even during this time, what was the Messiah saying? He was trying to bring us all together during this time that was so chaotic. And so we have some parallels going on here. And I talked to you, John, and I asked, like, after all the wars we've been through, all the countries we've destroyed with dollar diplomacy, all of the famine and the food, why are we still here? Why haven't we learned the lesson? We're talking about some things that went on 2,000 plus years ago, and the
Mm,
same things are still happening. How and when are we going to break this pattern?
right now.
So let's move on
Yeah.
and let's
No,
see.
and this is kind of another exciting point actually, because you're absolutely right. I mean, these things do follow a circular pattern, but this is for a purpose. And you go back to, and I mentioned this to I again researching through Joanna Prentice and Stuart Wilson's work. I discovered that, because we talked about this 3 point process, which began in Atlantis. Then there was the crucifixion itself, which was the second part, the anchoring of unconditional love into the core of the earth was part of the crucifixion process. That was a necessary part of it. So that had been 150 years worth of planning. If you follow our stories, you'll know all about that. But I always wondered, the anchoring in Atlantis, how did that happen? And I
Yeah.
just found out yesterday. And what was really interesting about this, there was a high priestess in Atlantis who was known as Anawa. Very, very, absolutely white. Do you know who that was? It was an earlier incarnation of Yeshua in the feminine. Okay. So when you think of that, and here's another point, actually, I just kind of like made me think about this actually. The number of incarnations, and I get this all a lot of this information comes from Alariel, who we know to be one of the 12 angels who supports the Melchizedek teachers, and therefore this information is fantastic. I love this information. But one of the things he said is that typically in incarnations, given how many times we've been, undoubtedly, we've been on this planet hundreds of times, hundreds of incarnations, if you believe in, which I certainly do. And apparently, typically, we'll go between 9 to 12 incarnations consecutively, either as male or female, at which point we will switch and do the exact opposite, because everything is about divine balance and harmony and learning from all perspectives. So we've been all different religions, we've been all different nationalities, we've been the masculine, we've been the feminine, we have all these experiences behind us. And certainly when we look at Yeshua, we always think of him as the male figure. He hasn't always been the male figure, okay? And again, this is about balance, because he was only able to achieve what he was able to achieve because he had his high priestess, Mary Magdalene, bringing her energy, which was just as important as Yeshua's as well. So again, it's all about balance. It's all about and balance and harmony, right?
Correct. And I believe that we as a collective have the power to close the loops that no longer serve us. This timeline sucks right now and it needs to be cleaned up. I'm just being real. And I want to go to another one. And if you want to go to another one, you've got to do your work. But the work now moves into the feminine and the nurturing. So that means you can't just be thinking about self. That's why all this narcissistic energy is being exposed and coming to the surface. We're seeing what narcissism looks like, and we're seeing what the opposite polarity, right, of the feminine, the too much of the feminine, the empathetic energy looks like. What we're doing as mass consciousness is we're trying to bring it in. And so we use these historical learnings to be consciously making a decision to go, the war loop, I think I want to close that. The famine loop, let me do what I can within me to not deprive myself of the things that bring me joy and pleasure. These are like, it's not just about us, and then it's not just about outside. It is really about trying to integrate with what you're living with. You signed up for this. We did. I signed up for it. You signed up for it. And now we're sitting in a cesspool. So it's our job to clean it up. Now, I know that this is like, it's beautiful. I said that, but there's work to be done is all I mean, because we see it around us, and it is up to us as a collective to move it in a different direction. And so these breadcrumbs are what we use to inform ourselves.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, and again, the thing that makes me particularly excited about this time is that we talked about, the original source of that three-part process took place in Atlantis. The second part was the crucifixion. The third is now. That is
Mhm,
why we're here. We're here for the shift of the ages. That is why we're here. That is why we're, doing what we do, and why our community are doing what they do, is because we are here for this shift. And this
yeah.
shift is into higher consciousness. This is into fifth dimensional energy. But to your point,
Mhm.
you have to do the work, right? You
Correct.
need to raise your consciousness so that your vibration will match where we're going. Because if your
Right.
vibration is stuck in the third dimensional energies and fear and anger and division, then you cannot go to a fifth dimensional kind of new earth. So
Yes.
this is what it's all about. This is the opportunity, and everybody has a decision to make. There is no wrong choice because everything everything, this is a free will planet, and everybody will have their moment. And even
Mhm.
those who move away from the light, okay, that's a journey of their choosing, which we've all done that in lives past as well. So
Mhm.
it's not to judge, right? Anyway, I think that what we've got coming up here now, and I think we should leap into it, is again
Yes.
talking about that balance and harmony, right? Which we've just
Right.
talked about.
And I want to say one thing before we go into it. Maybe people are asking, well, how do I know my frequency and vibration has been raised? Because you're being peacefully authentic in real time. You're able to manage your emotions. No matter what is going on, you remain in balance,
Yes.
or in
Yes.
harmony, I should say. Because I
Yeah.
want to say one more thing too. Balance, if you think about balance, you have to stay still. I learned this from my coach, Jessica. You want to harmonize because that moves. So balance is like you want to, it's stillness there.
Mm,
There's
mm.
balance in the stillness. But when you're in action, it's more of a harmony thing. Okay?
Yes. 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 So this is what we're going to be talking about now, care of Mary Magdalene Summary. So what used to happen is that when they used to have their midsummer gatherings on Cyprus, they would again talk about experiences. They would Mary Magdalene would talk about the time that she spent with Yeshua, learning from each other. And what she would always give was a keynote speech. So in the 11 years that followed the crucifixion, they met 8 times. So 3 years it wasn't logistically possible within that 11 years, but they managed to get together 8 times. So there are 8 Mary Magdalene summaries. Now, the balance and harmony happens to be one of them. So that is what we're going to listen to now. So if you bear with me a second, we are going to switch screens and listen to that.
Alario, concerning balance and harmony, Mary Magdalene said this: "The universe moves constantly towards harmony and is sustained by a system of balances. When you know about these balances, you begin to understand the true nature of things. In this way, an understanding of balance helps you to penetrate the veil of illusion and see things as they really are. Throughout creation, there are a series of spectrums of energy with opposing polarities that seem to be at war with one another. Yet this is an illusion, for at the midway point within each spectrum, the extremes vanish, and all is brought into equilibrium. Opposites are identical in nature but different in frequency. Thus, hot and cold are identical in their essential nature, which is one of temperature, but they represent different frequencies within that spectrum. Human life seems to be full of these pairs of opposites, including gain and loss, activity and stillness, more and less, loving and hating, greater and lesser, and these dualities do seem to dominate your lives. Consider, for example, the duality of gain and loss. This spectrum of energy is about supply. Gain is a plus of supply and loss is a minus of it. Only on one point in the spectrum, the midway point, is it in balance. Here there is no gain and no loss, just the harmony and oneness of supply. If you reject and push away any of the energies on this spectrum or try to attract and draw to you any of these energies, then you are not at the midway point. Try to focus and live at the midway point on all the spectrums of energy. At this point, there is a resolution of all energies. Here there is a balance. Here there is equilibrium, and here there is peace. Here there is direct knowledge of reality, for at any other point on the spectrum, plus or minus, you will be influenced by the illusion that one end of the spectrum is better than the other end, and you will not be able to see things as they really are. Once you know about this system of duality, your perception of gain and loss shifts onto a more subtle level, and you begin to ask yourself more fundamental questions. Is a gain only an apparent gain? Is a loss only an apparent loss? Could a loss on the physical level really be something quite different if it led to a gain on the spiritual level? And is the whole spectrum of gain and loss not about acquiring and losing all, but about seeing into the real nature of things and looking beyond duality into the oneness of the real? Learn to look at all the dualities in life as linked together within these spectrums of energy. Focus on the midway point and bring the opposites together in your consciousness, affirming that what you are seeing is not duality at all, but the fundamental transcendent oneness of things. In this state of non-duality, you become increasingly sensitive and aware of the reality which is the all. And the more you integrate with non-duality, the more the illusions dissolve and the veil of forgetting begins to thin. Here at last you begin to see things as they really are and start to understand your own true nature as a being of light. All this greatly increases your sensitivity to balance and harmony. These are keys to the process of spiritual unfoldment, so be aware of the effect your behavior has upon your inner balance. Arguing for this or denying that removes harmony from your consciousness. By accepting everything that happens to you as part of the balance of Father, Mother, God's creation, you affirm harmony. Through harmony, the universe moves back into its natural state, and the all sings within the silence of the heart. Commentary by Alariel. This summary reveals the advanced and subtle nature of Mary Magdalene's consciousness. While Peter was fighting the good fight, Mary soared up into non-duality and the transcendent state of the real. The Church did not teach anything about the nature of reality. Indeed, it suppressed all knowledge of this kind, regarding it at best as an unwelcome diversion from the task of saving souls, and at worst something even more sinister, a way of undermining church authority. The pairs of opposites may seem a very strange concept to the Western mind. The great sage known to the Greeks as Hermes and to the Egyptians as Thoth used opposites as a central element in his teaching, calling this the principle of polarity. Unfortunately, this information, well known to the mystery schools, never percolated through the mainstream of Western thought. And so most people in the West were not able to benefit from deeper knowledge of this kind. This deeper knowledge will help you to understand the importance of balance at every level of the universe and why harmony is such a supreme and fundamental law. To enter conflict, even in a just cause, is to turn your back on harmony and move away from the nature of reality. Become sensitive to every little ripple of disharmony in your life. Resolve it and ask forgiveness of any you may have wronged. Use a constant process of forgiveness to deal with the ripples of disharmony, so that they never develop into waves that threaten your inner peace. Comment by Stuart. There is such depth to this teaching on non-duality. Consider for a moment one duality that has caused much suffering within the Essene soul family, the duality of giving and receiving. In the words of Saint Ignatius Loyola, in his prayer for generosity, over the last 2,000 years, we have become so focused on the need to give and not to count the cost, that, in effect, we have shut down our ability to receive. Is this why so many light workers seem to have abundance issues? The idea that you are in illusion at either end of a spectrum of energy, but can have direct knowledge of reality at the midway point is highly significant. We may all know people who take a simplistic black and white view of the world, and now we can see what is going on with them because they focus on extreme positions. They simply can't see things as they really are because they are blinded by the illusion that dominates any extreme point. It is no use trying to reason with people like this because of the power of the energy at the extreme point. They will sincerely believe they are right, even when they are absurdly wrong. At this point, I still felt we needed more insight on how duality affects our lives, so I went back to Alariel for more information. Alariel, while you remain within the third-dimensional realm, the dualities of gain and loss, better and worse, will continue to be important in your lives. Although it is beneficial to focus on the ideal of oneness, the final achievement of an enduring state of oneness has to come when you are ready for it. People who think it is easy to enter complete oneness and live permanently on that level have underestimated the amount of self-work that is required to deal with the agenda of emotional issues, story, and cellular memories. Full entry into a state of non-duality and the permanent merging with oneness is an advanced state of human development and should be recognized as such.
So, first thing to mention, actually, and I should have mentioned this before, the extract here is from this book here, which again, it's by Stuart Wilson and Joanna Prentice. We've covered their work before with other books. And this is amazing because this actually does give you the Magdalene summaries and everything like that. We're going to focus on it this week. We're going to focus on it next week as well, because this is absolutely an important opportunity for us to get a clear idea of what it takes to raise our vibration to that ultimate level. And it is not easy, to move away from duality and polarity when we're surrounded by it, to be able to find that middle point. But one thing that really kind of made me think, as soon as I saw this, and I'd played this for Jolay, and I said, it really makes me think of the Ho'oponopono, okay, which is the Hawaiian. I'm just going to let Jolay explain that anyway. So, Jolay, do you want to come in and just talk a little Ho'oponopono for us? Is that the way you see it as well?
Yes, absolutely. Ho'oponopono is just life-changing. Like, I'm pretty much in my mind saying it all day long, in different phases, washing the dishes, visualizing. And this is how we close loops collectively, is we get this out there. And in the moment of challenge or not challenge, if even unconditional love, when things are going well, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And if we know that everything is energy, and if we have the USA and other countries have patents to tamper and manipulate with our electromagnetic energy, then why aren't we combating that with something? So when you feel your energy or you see energy around you and you have no control over it, saying Ho'oponopono is so transformative. What does it do? It pushes out positive, unconditional love, and it just covers the whole environment, whatever's going on. And with that consistency you talked about, the practice, how do we move into that? It is so much of a practice. And now that we're getting into the feminine, it's about the nurturing practice. Before, I think we were more disciplined, gladiator, warrior, moving through that energy. Now it's more like, let's sit down and sew and weave and spin and talk and learn and build in a different way. And that takes time and slowness. And so when we're learning something, we really have to slow down and get into the details. So we're relearning how to be as human beings, and we're opening up to parts of ourselves we didn't even know we had. So you begin to go into conversation with yourself in these moments, meaning compassion. So we bring it full circle back to the Ho'oponopono when we feel these energies and these different vibrations coming our way, to harmonize and stay focused. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. In whatever way, order you want to say that. You may say, I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. Or say thank you first, or I love you first, whatever resonates with you. But just keep saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I remember we did the show on that maybe even a couple of years ago, when the doctor, I think it's Dr. Joe, was it? I can't remember his surname, but he
Mhm.
was the one in Hawaii who went to effectively this asylum slash prison kind of thing where he worked with the inmates, and all but like the last couple of inmates were ultimately released back into society just because of the Ho'opono energy that he was able to transmit and to use. It was quite amazing. And yeah, it's super powerful. And that's a very, I think it's a really important tool when you're trying to
And
achieve balance and harmony.
absolutely. And give all love and glory to the Hawaiians and Hawaii, because there's so much there we can learn from. And if there's any place to start, we have Rwanda, but always keep Hawaii in your heart, because what America did to those islands is absolutely horrific. And that needs to be healed collectively. We all have to come together and bless and send so much love to Hawaii, Rwanda, and these places every single day. You can't go there and fly right now, some of us. But what you can do is open your heart and send loving vibrations and healing vibrations there and say, hey, I'm calling my energy back from this right here. I'm not signing up for that. So you put love on it, because anything else is going to contribute to the terrorization. So unconditional love is the only thing that has the ability to transform.
Mm, yes, yes. And when it comes to Hawaii, a lot of Lemurian energy there, you know.
Yeah.
That's something again that Alariel it was talking about actually just when I was reading that just yesterday. Actually, he was talking about the fact that if you go back to those times of Atlantis and Lemuria, the Hawaiian Islands were actually on the edge of the continent, and it was very much a feminine energy, and that
So
still remains.
you can see why Pearl Harbor was bombed. There's more to it, and that's what we're trying to explain to people, is that there's more to this than just what's on the surface. And you're involved. Your energy is a part of this. Pull it back.
Mm,
Consciously remind yourself you do not. I sign up for unconditional love. Let's not give any credit to what goes on like that. It's just say, I sign up for unconditional love. I'm
yeah.
in an unconditional loving space and I send unconditional love. These
Yes.
things really have an effect, especially when two or more are gathered.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And, I mean, again, it's accessing our inner Christos, right? It's our Christ consciousness energy. And that's what this is all about. And I go back to, like, again, a few weeks ago when we did that show where Elizabeth April was tapping into Yeshua, and he was showing her these like millions of astral bodies or whatever. And he's saying, okay, these are my followers. These people believe in me. He said, but the problem is they don't believe they are me, right? That is a
Exactly.
crucial thing that we have to remember because we are the second coming, all of us. But we have to access our heart-based Christ consciousness within. We have to choose to activate it, and we have to believe that. So it's not just a case of worshiping a deity. You know, Yeshua is our brother. That's what he said. He wants to be seen as our brother. So that is the way we have to embrace this. That is the way I see, or I choose to embrace it, because nobody has to do anything, right? They do what feels right to them. But that is what I have learned on this journey so far. So I'm excited about that. We can access our inner Christos, which means crystal. That is that energy that was anchored into the core of the earth during the crucifixion process and is now becoming available to us. And the other thing that gives us an awful lot more hope is that these new crystal children who are arriving, under rainbow children, the indigo, they're all light conceived, which means that they come in with a higher expression of consciousness, which means that we are now being surrounded by beings who have a higher level of consciousness and can elevate all of us along the way. That is what's happening around us right now. So, you know, regardless of the chaos that we see in the world around us, don't worry about the chaos. Go within. That's where the answer is.
And ground, obviously, because you're talking about these crystals releasing this energy, and that's how you would gain it or have access to it, is by visualizing yourself grounding into Mother Earth and receiving the messages or the gifts from those crystals. So these are just practices, and we think I need to sit down and I have to carve out time. Absolutely not. Yes, I do believe we should do that as well, but if you get your mind moving, if you start thinking and paying attention to detail, ooh, I need to ground. The moment you say that, your energy's grounded. Let me pull my aura in and put roses up around it because I feel a little uncomfortable. I'm having anxiety. Your body responds, your nervous system responds. But the thing is we go, in the past, we have destroyed this knowledge and wisdom. And now through research, we have so much that is back with us. So let's utilize it. As you say, John, and as we have learned, it's right in you. The creator of all that is within you, that essence. So let's stop looking outside of ourselves, or if we are looking outside, we're looking for edification. We're looking for knowledge and wisdom, which is going to better our lives, and we are going to apply it, right? That's the thing. We're in the moment and the crux of where execution is necessary. Yes. The past is no longer. So it's really about building the future in every way.
Yes. Living in the present and finding that place of stillness. Go within.
Right.
I think maybe we do this next little section now, which is the oneness piece. Okay.
Yes.
So just again to set the scene on this, because this is just a relatively short part of one of the Mary Magdalene summaries again. We're going to follow up and finish this next week because this is a big one, right? We've heard the balance and harmony. That was a necessary prerequisite to take us into this one. And we're just going to do this little 3-minute section, and then we're going to talk about it. So bear with me a second. We are going to switch screens.
Alario, concerning oneness and the all, Mary Magdalene said this: many people in the early stages of thinking about oneness see only the smooth and comfortable side of it. But as you journey to the core of oneness, you will discover many layers of challenge. Looking beyond every kind of duality and living at the midway point of balance is only the beginning of it. As the all values every culture, every race, and every tradition equally, you will have to throw away all your prejudices and opinions and live in an opinionless state. The all teaches you to accept everything that happens to you with an open mind and an open heart, and it teaches you to live in the present moment and let go of all the past, your traditions past, your teachers past, your country's past, even your own past. When you live completely in the all, you rise up each morning like a newborn babe greeting a fresh day. Nothing in your consciousness is fixed, and all of your consciousness is open to whatever the universe has to teach you. Then you will cease to seek teachers only amongst human beings or angels, realizing that any little creature, any flower, or any beautiful aspect of landscape or sky can teach you profound lessons as you tread your path. And in time, you will come to value the everyday experiences of your daily life as your very best teachers. When you live in the harmony of the all, you are the friend of everyone and the enemy of no one. Even time will expand and contract to serve you. And you will begin to observe Father, Mother, God in everything you see. Seeing Father, Mother, God in everyone and everything that you encounter will change your perception of the sacred, and you will begin to find wisdom and perfection everywhere, even in apparent folly and chaos. If you should travel through a land in conflict, you will see only peace, and your presence will bless everyone you meet, for it will remind them of their own peace that comes from within. Rooted in the real, you will bring a glimpse of reality into every life you touch. Because the all contains all space and all time, it also transcends all space and all time. By attuning to the real, all knowledge and all wisdom can be assessed. But assessing knowledge and wisdom is one thing, and being able to absorb and apply it is another. When the consciousness reaches a certain level, the wisdom of that level becomes available to you, and you are able to retain it and use it because you are on the appropriate level to do so. If you access a level of wisdom beyond your level of consciousness, it will be slippery, like a fish, and will slide out of your mind before you can absorb and apply it.
So just the first 3 minutes of that particular Mary Magdalene summary from the island of Cyprus, the final summary that was ever done. I think this is kind of like the challenge that we have. Okay, the balance and harmony is one thing, to try and live in that midway point, that divine neutrality. And the likes of Pam Gregory talks about this, like sitting on the eagle's perch kind of thing and viewing everything, but not actually getting, emotionally triggered, finding that place of neutrality. The idea of being able to live in an opinionless state when all the external world around us really tries to drag us out of that, and again, everything in the external world is designed to test us. Okay, that's the way it is. If you get drawn into the narrative, if you find yourself feeding into it, if you believe that your country is better than another country, or one person is better than another, or one religion is the right religion, or whatever it is, then you are not in that state of oneness. It is a work in progress that is going to take a lifetime. But the fact is, the first thing you've got to do to get involved in a game is to know the rules of the game. These are the rules of the game that we are now playing. And I find this really amazing. And the rest of this is fascinating as well. So when we play this next week, we'll include that first 3 minutes again, because it's worth reinforcing it. It's worth listening to it again, and then listen to the totality of the message from Mary Magdalene. Absolute wisdom at its finest from a high priestess initiate of the Isis mystery school in Alexandria. It's brilliant stuff, So this idea as well, this slippery fish thing, okay, where you if your consciousness is not ready for this, then it will slip out of your mind because you're not ready for it yet. And I just think back to times when maybe I've been introduced to a book, and I've been introduced to the book too early, and I don't quite get it. And in the end, it's just like put it to one side. However, 3 years later, I pick up the book, and all of a sudden, it all makes sense because I didn't have the context before, because my consciousness had got not elevated to the point where I was ready for that information. And then all of a sudden, you find you are. So I find that makes total sense as well. That if we're ready for it, then it'll just sink in and become part of who you are. And if not, it'll be like that slippery fish, and it'll be gone before you have a chance to absorb it. I find that really fascinating. Now, at that point, I'm going to bring Jolie back in because we need to accelerate things along here a bit.
Yeah, we will. We will totally accelerate it, because today I really think that we need the focus. We benefit by learning quick in the moment meditations that we can utilize every day at any moment. And because I said earlier, sometimes sitting down for 15, 30 minutes might not be possible. So today, let's do an in the moment meditation that's quick and easy, that allows us to get back into balance and harmony.
Yes, yes. And first, before we go there, we've got to go to Greg for another tool,
Yes,
right?
yes,
We've
that's
had
right.
we've had a lot of tools for the journey from Jolay today. Thank you very much. That's been really, again, very helpful. And I know we're not done with that yet. But what we also wanted to do was bring in Gregg Braden, because this idea, again, of living in an opinionless state, how do we achieve it? Because again, that's not a natural state for us who've grown up with this, surrounded by polarity and calls to judgment by everybody all the time. So Greg has got and we've used this before because it's just brilliant. And, love Greg's work, always will. And he talks about the gift of the blessing from one of his audiobooks. Again, so we're going to tap into that now. And I think it's a really vital tool for us going forward. What do you think, Jolay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, cracking. Right, we're going to do that. It's actually preceded by, again, Mary Magdalene giving a 1 minute on love and fear. So again, puts really good perspective about what Greg follows with. So bear with me a second. We're going to switch those screens again.
What is the greatest enemy of those who follow the way?
Fear. There will be times upon this path when it may seem that the whole world is against us. Do not listen to this voice of fear within, for it comes from a distorted view of reality. In truth, we are stronger than all the armies of fear, for instead of fighting hatred with hatred, we fill our hearts and minds with the strongest power in all the world, the power of universal love. Love does not fight or seek for conquest or dominion. Instead of cursing, love blesses all who touch it and raises up even those who would try to bring you down. When you serve love, you walk with your hands in the hands of angels, knowing that nothing can prevent the ultimate triumph of the light.
So, how do you apply this gift of the blessing? When an event hurts us, typically, we may look at the parameters of that hurt. I'm going to use our example of Rwanda because it lends itself well to this. In Rwanda, 3 things happened. The Rwandans lost their lives. Soldiers took their lives, and I was left behind to witness. Those become the opportunities of places where the blessing may be applied. And something amazing happens when we bless the things that have hurt the most. For example, what happens when we say, bless those Rwandans who gave their lives so that we may know ourselves in their passing? Our world's different now that they're gone. We have to make sense of that difference and what that means. That's the first step. Second one is the one perhaps it may be a challenge for some people. What if we say, bless the soldiers that took their lives? Bless the soldiers that took the lives of the Rwandans. This is where it's important. It doesn't mean we agree with what they did, that we consent or condone what they've done. It is our acknowledgement that they are playing out a role that is sacred in nature and part of the one. And although we may not understand it in this moment, it may not make sense to us, it is part of that one, and we're simply acknowledging that unity. How may we transcend the polarity of this world if we continue to respond to the polarity through the eyes of polarity? If we continue to respond, only blessing what's good. We bless the Rwandans, the soldiers, what about them? Well, forget those guys. They're the ones that took their lives in the first place. That's the thinking that led to this experience. It takes a powerful, masterful being to find a place within themselves where they can bless that which has transpired, which has hurt them deeply. And this is one of those places where the words may fail. This is one of those places where you must experience it for yourself. That's the second opportunity for the blessing. So we bless the Rwandans that gave their lives so that we may know them in their passing. And now we bless the soldiers that took those lives. The soldiers now know themselves in the taking of a life. That's a hard one for some people. And the last one, it's the one that's been left out in the West, is us. Bless us in the witnessing. We're the ones that have to make sense of it. We're the ones that are left behind. And those three codes of blessing, I believe, hold such potential for healing. And I've seen it in my life, I've seen it in the lives of others, and they're so subtle. Please don't be deceived by the subtlety. And please bear in mind that when you bless, you're simply acknowledging that what you have experienced or witnessed is a part of the one, and that's all. As you sit down with your children in front of the 6 o'clock news, and your children see the outrageous events that are transpiring now at the close of this cycle, shift of the ages, the 0 point moment, where we're being pushed to the extremes of emotion and who we believe we are through outrageous events, some of them that cause a lot of pain. I ask the question, what choice really do we have other than to rise above the polarity that hurts us in the first place? The other choice is to remain a part of the polarity and to be angry and to judge. And this is where discernment comes in. I believe discernment is a powerful tool to recognize what we no longer choose to have in our world, and then to make it so by rising above that polarity. Do we turn our backs and walk away from the things that hurt us and disown them? Or is there another way? Can we find a way to rise above the goodness or the badness or the rightness or the wrongness? Can we discern what we no longer choose to have while still being there in a form of love and support? And the gift of the blessing allows for that possibility. Now, clearly, I would never choose to persuade or convince anyone of anything. These are simply possibilities that I'm outlining. I'm fleshing out our knowledge of history and the possibilities of what our lives may mean to us through tenets and codes and texts that were taken out of our common modes of history and circulation 1,700 years ago. And what I invite people to do is take this possibility, and if it works, if it makes sense, and if you find a place for it in your life, then you've got it right this moment. Embrace it and live what it means. And if you hear these words and they make no sense to you whatsoever, the magic is you cannot unhear them. So I'll invite you to place them into a file folder somewhere in your memory called possibilities, and to hold on to whatever belief systems have brought you into this moment, because they are serving you very well. And the moment that one of those belief systems fails you, rather than struggle trying to hang on and make that old belief system work, let it go with grace. Bless it and let it go. Come back to this file folder called possibilities and allow for what this code of compassion and blessing may mean in your life.
So thank you, Greg. Words of wisdom. Again, I just, think he's such a special messenger for this time of change. And as he says, it takes a powerful, masterful being to find the place within themselves where they can bless that has transpired, that has hurt them deeply. It's not easy. None of this is easy. The balance and harmony, the oneness, and we're going to keep exploring that as of next week as well. So we need tools to help us to rise above, as Greg put it, the polarity thinking that got us into the problems in the first place. So we know how to do it, heart-based Christos energy within. So Jolie, can I bring you back in for your thoughts before we go for
Yes.
meditation?
Yes, that was so beautiful. I think he summed it up, and you guys summed it up nicely. Um, all I want to say is you have the power to call your energy back, to become whole again, but it's going to take a little bit of practice.
Yes, it is. And that's the thing, again, building all these things into a practice, the meditations and the likes, or whatever works for you. If it's prayer or something like that. I find it very simple. Like when I'm just laying in bed at night, if I'm waking up during the morning, just
Hmm.
any time. It can be 3 o'clock in the morning, but I will just go into prayer mode, right? And just gratitude, just simple gratitude that puts a big stupid smile on your face as you're just laying in bed
Yes.
waiting to fall asleep again. What a fantastic feeling, because you're just thinking about everything you've got in your life that you're grateful for, and it just takes you to a really super happy place. And what you're doing is you're putting it out into the universe, it's amplifying it and bringing it right straight back again. Because if you end up doing that with something that you're fearful of, what's going to happen, right? That gets amplified and comes back your way. If you master your thoughts, you master your reality.
Yeah, and gratitude is huge. And make sure you pick something you're grateful for about yourself. Not, oh, I'm grateful for my family, or I'm grateful for my I'm grateful that I am patient. I'm grateful that I know how to forgive. Be loving and nurturing to you, and then extend that outward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very well said. Yeah, no, it's important. It's important. It is an inside job, right? That's it. And we're
Yeah.
we're coming back to self. We're coming back to here, and not getting distracted by the external nonsense, right? That's designed to test us. We came here for the test. That's what we came here for, and we can pass it with flying colors, should we choose
Yeah.
to do so.
Yeah, and we do need each other. I mean, let's not forget that, because we have a tendency to be very passive aggressive and mean. And that's something, that a loop that we want to close emotionally, because it's damaging. Passive aggressive energy and anxiety, they go hand in hand. So if you're anxious, maybe stop being passive aggressive. Maybe call out people when they're being passive aggressive to you. This is the work.
Mm. Mm. So what do you reckon? It's that time?
Yeah, let's meditate.
Right. Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to have, again, a few words from Alariel to just lead us into Jole's words of wisdom with the meditation. And then she will take us off on another magical journey. So bear with me a second. We are going to switch screens.
To enter conflict, even in a just cause, is to turn your back on harmony and move away from the nature of reality. Become sensitive to every little ripple of disharmony in your life. Resolve it and ask forgiveness of any you may have wronged. Use a constant process of forgiveness to deal with the ripples of disharmony, so that they never develop into waves that threaten your inner peace.
Feet flat on the floor, palms face up on your thighs. Breathe with the rhythm of your body as you begin to bring your awareness to your chest. Right here in the center, the core of who you are is unconditional love, forgiveness, and compassion. For you first, and then for the rest of the world. As you ground your energy into Mother Earth, because you are so worthy to live a life that is filled with joy, laughter, and abundance in this timeline. So as you root yourself into Mother Earth, her golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles blanket the inside and the outside of your grounding cord. As you simultaneously pull your aura in, your higher self stands at the power position at a comfortable distance above your crown, and you snap in your astral body. Breathe as your astral body downloads all of the information that it received while you were sleeping. A moment may come, a thought, a feeling, an experience that is negative. Your aura layer, you can put roses around it. They represent the energy of protection and transformation. It's beautiful, but it has thorns. So you can only touch it and come at it a certain way. So put roses around your aura whenever you're in groups or around people that make you uncomfortable. Open up the line between you and your higher self by creating a portal, and so that your higher self can communicate with you clearly. And your job is to follow its directions and flow with it. Although there may be outside information coming in, that brow can serve as a filter. So can the crown. So when someone is bringing information or you're listening to information, you can open up your third eye and put a filter in front of it. That way, only what is necessary and is of your frequency and vibration will come in. Your heart also is such a portal of unconditional love and emotion. And it's a powerful engine. And that is why energy harvesting exists. So you want to put a rose up in front of your heart. And sometimes you can make it chrome, because what does that do? That's going to reflect back to the person how they are behaving. And if it really gets rough, you can put chrome roses around your entire aura layer and reflect back to people what they are bringing into you. Silence is golden sometimes, and we have to choose our words wisely. So we want to put a gold rose in front of our throat chakra to make sure we speak with authenticity, with peace, and also factual information that fails to trigger or activate other people negatively. Our arms are channels of creativity. So we make sure that gold light pours in and pours through our arms, removing any blocks, because we are all unconditional love at our core. What we are doing is removing the blocks that have been generated by time, programming, and conditioning. So allow for that golden light to pour through from the cosmic through your arms, sprouting out of your hand chakras, filling up your aura layer with this beautiful gold, sparkly energy of creativity, attracting in and magnetizing your abundance. And so when we get into the lower three chakras, these are the ones of execution. So we make sure we clean these out on a regular basis, energetically as well as physically. We keep things moving. So we exercise our spirit by moving out some of this blocks, fear, worry, doubt we're holding in our body. And in this lower level, we want to turn any of the negativity, a color such as bright red, neon green, orange. And we want to go ahead and send that stagnated energy, that energy of deprivation, inconsistency, cowardice. We're going to turn it a color, and we're going to send it down our grounding cord. And yes, our legs, our knees, and our feet are in this. So whatever is blocking you from taking that next step, go ahead and turn it a color. Flush it down your grounding cord. You could move it down your feet, and then you fill up with gold light, golden sun, golden moon. Let it trickle down into your legs. Mother Earth energy coming up within. These are some of the symbols and the visuals that you can use in real time to move your energy out and to practice staying in harmony and balance within you. When you are unsure of what to do, you ask your higher self. You be patient and wait for the message. And then you open up that portal between the heart and the center of the head. How does it make you feel? Does it feel good? Is it scary? Just because it's scary doesn't mean it needs to be done. It is something that you shouldn't do. So lean in to the creator within you by using the symbols, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the practices that work for you. and breathe. If there's nothing else you can do in the moment, take those deep breaths and talk with your nervous system. Let it know that it is safe, it is worthy, it is resilient, and it can handle whatever comes its way. And ground your energy. Anytime you need guidance, bring in that gold light. Anytime you need to be decisive, open up your heart. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, know that you are capable. You are the solution and the answer to all the questions that life is asking you. You have them. So take a deep breath in. We're going to exhale. If your feet, your hands, your brow, or any chakra was open, gently, with grace and ease, close it. And all of that nurturing energy that you brought in, keep moving with it. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, you want to open your eyes.
Thank you, Jolie.
Yeah, that was the quick and clean version.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So no, we actually overran a little bit longer than intended, really, with the show
Yes.
generally. But there's just so much information there. Oh, by the way, your camera's not on yet, Jolie. Just so you know.
Okay, thank
There
you
you
for
are.
that, John. I didn't know. Yes.
Yeah, no, but brilliant meditation. I love that because that is so in alignment with where we've been going today. And I think it's just important that people have the opportunity and the tools through meditation, through the gift of the blessing, through Ho'oponopono,
Right.
and all the
Exactly.
other tools that you've given us today as well to
But
help to
that's how you,
navigate.
ooh, I'm sorry, John.
No, no, no,
That's
carry
how,
on.
but that's how we dissolve, what does it say? Any ripples of disharmony that Ilariel was speaking of is ripples of disharmony come in the moment. And I know for me, oftentimes it's difficult. I don't have the words or the thoughts in the moment to go ahead and stand my ground. And then 10 minutes later, I have the greatest comeback or whatever. No, now we need to begin to say things in the moment. If it's nothing else, or what do you mean by that? Are you okay? Can you dig deeper? Like, own your energy, set those boundaries, push and lean in to your unconditional love for yourself, because what you're doing is you're really, it's ripples out there, and we help so many other people by being authentically who we are with
Yeah.
love.
Yes. Yes, and that's what we're learning here. And again, next week we have a continuation of that, the final ever Mary Magdalene summary that came through from Cyprus all those 2,000 years ago. And honestly, we continue this journey, and it's fascinating. It's not easy, but at the end of the day, once you know the rules of the game, you know how to play it. And we can, with the tools at our disposal, we can push forward and we can expand our consciousness and the consciousness of the world around us in so doing. So now we are coming to wrap up, yeah?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Okay, so we're going to do the newsletter. We are going to basically send that out tomorrow with the edited version of this. Well, as soon as we make it available, I'll get it out there as quickly as possible. And again, we always add extra images on there to help with the explanations and tidy things up. So watch out for that. And really, other than that, I just want to say thank you. Oh, yeah. And of course, like, share, and subscribe.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of are really into the content, and we don't do that whole call to action sometimes because we'd love for you to comment about what you learned from the show. We'd also like you to know that we are a donation-based channel, so please, if you like what you hear, feel free to donate to our PayPal, and like, share, and subscribe, and get this information out there so that we can remember who we are, so that we can exist amongst each other in a safe, environment.
Yes, yes. And to your point, the PayPal donation thing is in the show details beneath for anybody who can access it. We are exceptionally grateful, and thank you to Dennis and Kathleen, Dennis and Kathleen, who donated last time around. So Thank you. Really appreciate it. Helping to keep the home fires burning. Thank you. And okay, well, with that, I think, oh yeah, and of course, anybody who has any messages, anybody wants to join our distribution list for the newsletter, you can send an email to me, John Drew, at elevatedplanet.life, whether the message is for me or for Jolie, and we just field these together, and we always love to hear from you. So please don't hesitate. We love you all. We are so grateful you're on this journey with us. And as Jolie said, don't hesitate to comment below as well on anything that you may have experienced or may be thinking about this. Okay. Thank you, Jolie.
Bye-bye, you guys. Take care.
Take care,
Much
everybody.
love.
Lots of love.